name is Owen McGabinao, and welcome to HYVAssistant.com. And on the show, I bring on entrepreneurs who are using virtual assistants in their business in one way or the other, so that you guys can learn from them, learn the context as to how they use what their business is about in the first place, and how they use virtual assistants and make outsource tasks in their business. And today I wanted to take a little bit different swing on things. I want to see, that's why I invited today's guest to talk about how essentially having virtual assistants in the business also helps her on the personal side of being a mom. And before I go any further, let's be introduced to today's guest, Letta Hamilton from thewayofthetoddler.com. So go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience and let them know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Okay, well, my name's Letta Hamilton. I am an author here in the Pacific Northwest. I do a parenting radio show called The Way of the Toddler Hour, which can be heard on an online radio station called TogiNet.com. I'll talk more about that later. And then I do a lot of public speaking to moms groups around the Puget Sound area, where I teach tips and practical tools for a mother to have a greater inner peace in the midst of the poopy diapers and the piles of laundry.
Yeah.
And on a personal level, my children are 6, 3, and 1-year-old boys. So I have 3 young boys. And I use, obviously, a lot from my own personal life in my radio show, my book, my blogs. I do some regular columns for some parenting websites. So all of that, my personal life and my professional life, are very linked together.
Definitely. And just so that the audience understands it a lot more, because I was trying to see how we can take this into an aspect of not really more about business, but how you make use of virtual assistants even in your personal life to be a mom. But before we get to that point, let's talk. Take a little journey back and to figure out, when did you even come to the realization that you even needed virtual assistant in the first place?
Oh my goodness. Well, to be honest with you, when I first, I wrote my book at a time in my life when I was dealing with very small children, and I was a full-time mother. I was wondering, is there more to life than this? Is this it? I'd given up a very high-powered executive assistant job to a CEO of a private equity company in London. I was working in London. So I'd given up a lot to become a full-time mom, and was really then facing a crisis of, what does it all mean? What is this all about? And then when I took the book to the next stage of finding a publisher and then becoming a speaker and then a radio show host, I think it became pretty clear to me very early on that I was going to need outsourcing help. When you're developing a book, you need people to help you with logo design, design for your cover, all these things. I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm not an artist. So it was pretty clear from really early days that I was going to need to look outside of me. But that it was finding, how do I do that? That was my homework that I had to do.
Definitely. So let's even dive into the point of how you did it, because I think in that whole aspect of the process, there's also something for the audience to learn as well.
Yeah. Okay. I asked a lot of questions, and when I started to do this seriously, when it wasn't just a hobby anymore, it was a business. Me going out there with my workshops and then the radio show and the book. So writing at the beginning was a hobby, but then it became more a serious commitment on my part to make it a business.
Yeah.
And then I had to do a lot of research about networking and what kind of networking groups to join, and I started to balance my time and ask, quite frankly, you know, I am married, so I do have a husband that can help watch the kids in the evening and stuff, because I really did start to really pound the pavement to go out there, go to events and start asking questions. And from that, then I found out about different places that I could go to get outsourcing help.
Definitely. So you found that, you know, you found the places that you could get outsourcing help. You know, what exactly, you know, did you need them for at that point? And also, how did you even screen to get the right VAs to help you in the different parts of the business?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, to begin with, I needed some design help working on my logo and some branding design for my book cover and things like that. Yeah. And then I also needed some help with editing and proofreading my manuscript to get the book in a publishable place.
Yeah.
And now as my business has grown, what I now need more help with are things like research, which is a big one, and some phone calls, you know, dealing with some phone calls. But one thing that I will share with the people that are tuning in is that what I've done, which I find really helpful, is I've prioritized what is important for me to do, and then I've prioritized what I can outsource, and what I can outsource now versus what I will outsource in the future as my business grows.
Yes.
And I've done a whole, you know, rolling out plan for the next 12 months of when I want to be outsourcing what and what kind of virtual assistant help I will need when. And because, you know, we're talking about my personal life and, you know, me being a mom and trying to balance the family, one of the things about being a mom is being organized, right? You know, and being a business person. But I'm also a businesswoman, and I want to be there for my kids, but I also want to be there for my business. I want them both to succeed. And so by me being really organized in terms of outsourcing and virtual assistants and having a plan laid out for the upcoming year, it means that I'm always ready to delegate. I'm never in a position where I'm feeling like I have to do it all myself. And it makes a huge difference.
Definitely. I guess, you know, you have, being a mom is one whole big task, and now having a business, which is another whole big task. It doesn't necessarily compare, because being a mom is even more important. You know, that's the thing. And then you have a business, but you still have the need to, you know, pay attention to it, and hence you need to be organized so that you can have enough brain power to handle both.
Right, and I don't want to feel like either one is suffering. And you know, whoever you are in your business and in your personal life, male, female, if your kids are little or whether they're grown, we all want to feel like we have balance between our professional lives and our business lives. That is universal. So one of the things that I feel is very important and that I have taken the time to do, I've taken the business time to do, is to sit down and think about things strategically for the future, so that I'm ready to outsource things as they come up. And, you know, a lot of people were so busy doing what needs to be done today that we never take that time to really think and plan and strategize for the future. But for me, it was important to do that first, to make the commitment to myself, to my family, to my business, to do that strategic thinking so that I'm not stressed out. I'm not stressed out.
Definitely, and I guess your business, you're going on a journey, and also in your personal life, you're going on a journey. So by taking that time to really sit down and think of where you want to go to, it helps you start thinking: is this plan I have? Is this journey I'm trying to go? Working out the exact map to get into it. I guess that's the whole idea. And so before we dive into the strategic plan of what you're doing moving to the future, let's talk about right now how exactly the VA is also helping you, especially on the personal side, because we want to find out as much as possible about that too.
Well, I'm using VAs primarily for research purposes, for my marketing material, for my writing. I'm a mom, I've got my little kids, but what I am not is a medical doctor or a child psychologist, things like that. So what I can do is outsource all of that research to then bring in some of the statistics and things that I need to really make impactful marketing material that is going to really speak to moms on all levels, the intellectual level of what the experts are saying, and then the emotional level of what they're feeling. And that makes me come across as somebody who's professional, who's done her homework. So right now, in terms of being at this place in my business where I have this book, I have these workshops that I've developed, and and I go out, but I'm pretty local right now. I'm based in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area, so I am looking to expand, and I can use my virtual assistant to really help me with the research aspects so that I can create some really impactful marketing material so then I can grow. And then in the future, well, I'll be using virtual assistants for everything.
Definitely, but you also, in regards to the research part, if you are basically sharing with other moms how maybe ways to cure certain kind of diseases, like maybe homemade remedies and all that, as a result, I guess, maybe of using the virtual assistants to do that kind of task, eventually you're going to have to sit down and read what you're about to present. And I hope, I'm thinking that you're learning what you're about to present, because you're going to have to go out there and present it. And in the same vein, take that information back home and be able to use it as a mom yourself. I'm thinking that's one of the gains.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you learn all the time. And I've had really good experience with putting out bids and, getting a lot of responses from people. And I'm always a little bit surprised at the range of bids. It seems to be really quite wide what you get in terms of bids when people come back. But I've found some really neat people that have been just genuine and an honest and a pleasure to work with. Just a joy. It's been a really joyful process. And one of the things that makes me feel good about using the virtual assistant platform is that also a lot of times I feel like I can give a young person a chance, somebody who's just starting out, who needs a break. I understand needing a break, needing somebody to just because when I first started out as an author and a speaker, and nobody knew who I was. I was a stay-at-home mom with these 3 kids, and I wrote this book and got it published, and had to really go out and start telling people who I was and asking them to listen to me. So I really enjoy that aspect of using the virtual assistant, and it is something that makes me feel good too.
Definitely. And how else, making it a virtual assistant, how else does he help you become more of a better mom as well? I'm trying to dig into that as much as possible.
Sure. Well, I've written down a few things, Owen, for you. When I think of being a better mom, I think of being there for my kids. Being there for my kids is important. But like I said before, being there for my business is also important.
Yeah.
So the whole, thing about virtual assistants is that, number one, it really is an affordable way for me to get some support that I need in my business so that I can be that better mom. I can be there for my kids. And, life is full of choices. And when you're looking at yourself in terms of a whole person, and for me especially, because my business and my personal life are so closely intertwined,
Yeah.
I have to look at who is my team? Who is my team of support around me? Every person on this planet needs a team of support, and especially a mom who is, trying to do so many things on one plate. We've got our kids and our domestic duties, and then so many of us out there are working on top of it all.
Yeah.
So I had to think about who's my team of support. And included in that team of support, I put in virtual assistants. And I can do that not all the time, not for everything. I have to prioritize. I have to look at, okay, what is worth my time versus worth my money? And make choices about, okay, well, in this particular instance, it's worth it to me to pay the virtual assistant so that then I have that time to spend with my family. And everybody has to sit down and make those kind of choices.
Yeah.
So the affordability of using virtual assistants makes it a really attractive way for me to have more support on my team. And also the fact that for me, especially at this stage of my motherhood, when my kids are 6, 3, and 1, so they're still really little, time is very precious. And so, obviously I can't at this point afford everything, but I can sit down and really prioritize and make that list of, okay, time versus money.
Yeah.
And how do I assemble my team of support so that I'm a successful mom and a successful businesswoman? And when I think of success as a mom or as a businesswoman, I think, like, how not stressed out am I? Because if I am pulling my hair out, if I'm angry and just my stomach is in knots, or I'm too stressed out, then I'm not being a good mom and I'm not being a good business person. And I don't want to run the kind of business or be the kind of business owner where I'm running on adrenaline all the time, where I'm just stressed out all the time. Been there, you know that saying, been there, done that. I don't want to be, it's just not going to happen.
So how do you actually avoid that? Because I mean, with businesses, there are challenges that come with it. So how do you work around that so that it doesn't translate from your business that, having a bad day to you now going home to being a mom? I'm trying to figure out how you work around that issue.
Well, I'll tell you what, Owen, I take the time to do the stuff that is not like that strategic planning I was talking about before. If you're always just dealing with the next crisis or what have you, then it is stress making. So that's one thing I've carved in. Okay. There's a couple things I do, Owen. The first thing is I have very clear days for when I am working on my business and when I am not working on my business. I make a schedule for my week, so I dedicate, 3 days a week to focused on my business. And I tell you what, I have had people come up to me and be like, Lita, you are so focused. Like, when I'm focused on my business, I am 100% focused on my business. And then one of the things that I've really had to train myself to do, and I think it's really hard for a lot of people, is that when I'm not, quote unquote, on the clock, you know, when I am not focusing on my business, then I don't, you know, I do my best. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I, you know, don't check my emails. Don't, you know, I look carefully at who is calling on my phone before I answer it. So I'm very clear, and I have those boundaries established between when I'm working and when I'm not working. And when I'm working, I am 100% focused. And from the minute I sit down at my desk until the minute I get up, I am ticking things off my to-do list like you cannot believe. And then I get up and I go have dinner with my family and I close the office door and that's it. I'm done. And the other thing that I was going to say on this point about how do I make it all work, I've lost my train of thought, Owen, but I had a really good...
Yeah, that was a good point. I was trying to figure out, okay, now I know your process for zoning in and getting stuff done so that you're not stressed out, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, how does the virtual assistant, you know, get mixed with that whole process of you zoning in? And just
because they're... Yeah, well, because the virtual assistant's part of my support team. The virtual assistant is there to make my life easier so that when I am focused, I'm focused on the stuff that I need to be focused on and not on the stuff that I can easily delegate. And there are things that I do now that I don't plan on doing in, you know, 6 months time or 3 months time. And I also have a marketing plan. So, you know, again, it's carving out the time in my business day, my business hours to think strategically, to think about the future. And so thinking about my marketing, how I want my business to grow, all of that, I've carved out time to write those things out so that then I can look at that list of things that I want to be doing and my plan for my future and my business, and then plug in where the virtual assistant can help me in each of those areas.
Definitely. And so I see from the first thing you said was, you know, you're using your virtual assistant basically as a support team to help you so that you can hand off all the things that most likely might stress you or you're not even really wanting to focus on, so you can work on those higher level strategic kind of tasks that you needed to grow your business. And as a result of you doing that and not being bugged by all the other time consuming stuff, you take that energy and that, you know, whole, you know, good mood because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and it's relating to how you're becoming a mom because you're not stressed out by all the time consuming stuff. I've never really heard anybody kind of relate how they make use of virtual assistants and how it relates to themselves being a mom, and that's why I said let me get you on the show to talk specifically about it. And how else does, you know, you use making a virtual assistant, how else does it help you?
Well, I've written down, so, you know, my priorities for my business are, well, my priorities for my life. You know, I've got my family and I've got the networking and that I need to be doing. I need to make a lot of one-on-one contact. So a lot of what I do is, it's all about relationship building, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much of it. You know, and I you know, looked at some of your Twitter stuff and all of that social media stuff that we do. It's so much of it is about relationship building. So I concentrate a lot on 3 core areas, and that's my family, my relationship building, and the writing that I have to do, which only I can do.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 buckets, I suppose, and everything outside of those 3 buckets, quite frankly, somebody else can do for me. So the research at this point in my business. You know, I'm looking at the research aspects, the design aspects, because, you know, you've got the things that I don't want to do, and I've got the things that I really am not qualified to do. I can't do. And then, you know, the phone call aspect of you know, because when you do a radio show, there's a lot of, I have to, you know, you're booking guests and you're confirming guests, and those are kind of logistical, administrative things that I personally don't have to do. So those are the 3 areas where it's not such a priority for me right now, or I don't know how to do that. I can really rely on the virtual assistants to help me out with.
Definitely. I like how you even broke down, you know, what are your core, I guess, competencies of what you want to do, you know, or what you want to focus on. You say your family is one of them, your writing is one of them, because that's where your strength is in your business, and as well as also your relationships. And I always keep hearing people say, never outsource the relationship. So that is the key part. You're keeping that to yourself because you want to, you know, establish that relationship with your fans and people that, you know, pay attention to what you do. And then now everything else that, you know, is part of your business that doesn't apply to any of those 3 things, or, you know, or aspects, then now that goes out so that, you know, you get a handle by your virtual assistant. And now you said that you're working on you know, several plans to kind of figure out a way how to also include your virtual assistant in other parts of your business. If you don't mind sharing with us, you know, do you want to talk about some of those things too?
Okay. Well, if so you can see I've got my little, you know, journal here. It's funny because as a mom, so much of, you know, my things, they don't look like your average business, you know, notebook, but it works for me. And so, you know, I've written down some things. These are things that I've done in terms of thinking about strategy and the future of my business. And I would recommend to everybody that you do carve out some time, even if it's on a weekend. Make that commitment to yourself to think more about the bigger picture, because that's how you're going to find peace and that calmness in your day-to-day running of your business.
Definitely.
So you know, I wrote down, okay, what are 5 things I can do to streamline? And then I did a list of 5 things. So, you know, I really thought about streamlining my business because I want to be efficient as a mom. I really need to be efficient with my time. So I wrote things like only check emails during designated business hours, have, you know, 3 days a week where I'm dedicated to my business, only, you know, work 4 hours if it's at a weekend. So things like that. I've written down streamlining. And then I've written out a November through to January 2012 plan where I've taken a look at, okay, in May of 2011, I'm going to outsource someone to work on my database and streamline my contact list.
Definitely.
And then in June of 2011, I am going to outsource somebody to put together a mailing for me, a mass mailing that I've got strategically planned for June. I mean, and as a mom and speaking to mom groups, I have to think about when I send things out and all that. So, and then I have outsourced a follow-up phone virtual assistant that then can follow up on the mailing that I've done.
Yeah.
And then, you know, follow up with another virtual assistant or even the same one, because obviously if you find one that you work well with, you can just use them again to then, you know, do that second follow-up. Outsource a handout brochure mailing to potential clients. Outsource a personalized letter mailing to potential clients. So between, between November we're in December now, and January 2012, I've laid out a plan of specifically what I want to outsource and for what purpose.
Definitely. I like how you have that there, and it just goes to show anybody listening that the whole process of making it a virtual assistant and outsource it is not something where you just have everything you want to outsource at once or whatever. It's a process where you start out small and build up according to how, as the need comes in your business. And some people might not be willing to let go of certain tasks immediately, but you build up to that point where you can trust the VA to handle those tasks. And like you have in your case, you have an outline of, okay, by this time, maybe in a few months from now, I'm not going to be doing this myself. This is going to be handled by this person. Yeah. And you have that list. And gradually, from what I'm seeing is, it's getting to the point where things are getting off your book of tasks that you have to do, and that's freeing you enough time to do the things that you really want to be doing, which is spending time with your family, even connecting more with your audience, and also writing, which is your passion. I like that.
I know, and you on your website is like the VA, hire a virtual assistant so that you can do
focus on what you love.
Focus on what you love. and it's so true. So, I would say, okay, the first thing is you have to know that virtual assistants exist, that you can use them, that they're out there. And then you have to not be afraid to use them, which is, and I think as women, I don't know if men, I can't speak for men, obviously, but I think, and I don't, maybe you can give me your 2 cents on this, because don't you find that a lot of women feel like they have to do everything themselves?
Well, let me say I will speak for the men part because I want to make sure that this is a show that appeals to everybody. So for the men part, I'll let you answer that question. But for the men part, I think sometimes men want to take charge in everything as well too. So I think it's a thing where also for the man it's a difficulty to letting go of certain things.
Yeah.
As a woman, I wouldn't know how that goes, but you can enlighten us on that.
Yeah, you're right though. So it's knowing about virtual assistants, and then it's having the courage to use them, to take some things off of your plate. And if you're thinking, okay, I don't have the budget for this, that's what I sat down. I looked at my budget. I looked at, okay, how much money do I have to spend here? What can I take off my plate? What can I? Maybe, it's not the bookkeeping right now. I still need to keep track of my receipts. Yeah. But what I can outsource is the research component. I can do that.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't have to be everything, but if you really look, I'm telling you, you can. There is at least one thing that you can take off your plate and outsource. So knowing about them, having the courage to use them, if you're not familiar, if you've never used an outsource company before, ask questions. Check out, I was looking at your LinkedIn group, and I was looking at the topics that you've done, and I was really interested in the things that you've interviewed on. And so even just using you as a resource is a great way to educate yourself and familiarize yourself so that you can just go out and start hiring virtual assistants.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is to bring on, because like I told you earlier on, was that, if I keep talking about it myself, then I'm not going to give the whole concept the benefit or the exposure it deserves, especially if it's from my own point of view. And that's why I'm coming out to reach out to you. And today you're talking about something that, I never thought how someone can relate making yourself a virtual assistant to being a mom. And I was like, I want to hear about that. And I like what I hear so far. It's really good. I like how you related it to it. Your core concept of what you want to focus on, your relationship with your kids and being a mom, and also you being passionate about writing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, because, well, being a human being presents many challenges, Owen, and being a mom in particular, especially at the age 0 to 5, when before they're going to school, 2 out of the 3 of my kids are not yet in school. So there's a lot to deal with there, a lot to deal with. And my mom says to me, Lita, why are you doing this now? Why didn't you wait until the kids were in school?
Yeah.
And I really can't answer that. I just followed a calling. I stuck a laptop up on a kitchen countertop and I started to write a book. I didn't even know what I was doing really. I just knew I needed to do it.
But I guess that you not really know why you need to do it. It's really more about the entrepreneur calling and that thing in you that wants to be an entrepreneur. If you don't answer it, you might feel like, what if?
Yeah.
And now you with the situation of actually the blessing of having kids, but also the blessing of wanting to have your business going. You have to handle both of them, and this is your way of going about doing it. I love it.
You're absolutely right, Owen. So I should make sure that anybody who is watching this knows that I do this radio show once a week. My website is litahamilton.com, LETAHA, or thewayofthetoddler.com, litahamilton.com, thewayofthetoddler.com. They both go to me. I do a lot of public speaking around. I've got a lot of great workshops that are specifically focused at how we create lives that are peaceful, that aren't crazy making. And I do this in my personal life with my children, and I also do it in my business. It all comes together.
Definitely. I mean, before we let you go, I want you to leave my audience who are also moms, because we've been speaking directly to moms so far, who probably have kids now and also have that entrepreneurial bug. How can they, what should they do to move past that fear of, I can do both of them, just the same way you do?
You're right, Owen. And so many moms out there, they want to have that balance. They want to run their own business that's on their terms. I'll tell you, Owen, that is so important, and it's why I became an entrepreneur and why I will never go back to the company office. I needed to have a life that worked for me, that was on my terms, and that I didn't know how it would play out, but it's kind of unfolded naturally. And so many moms are like that, where they want to have a business that's theirs, that makes them feel like they're contributing to the household income, that gives them something to do apart from just, raising the kids. Although, that's a whole other topic. It's so important. Our kids, they need us. So find out, educate yourself, find out about things like virtual assistants. I tell you what, just knowing that virtual assistants are out there, that they can help you, that they can take one small thing off of your plate in terms of business, and not just getting a house cleaner. So many would think, if I, just get a house cleaner and then I'll have time for the business. But if you have that support team that also includes people that can help you in your business. Yes. It makes a huge difference. So educate yourself, find out about virtual assistants, ask questions if you're not sure. Email me at thewayofthetoddler@gmail.com, and then just go out and do it.
Thank you very much. I mean, I actually really enjoyed this interview because I wanted to figure out how do you relate these things, and I am glad we did this interview. I really appreciate it. Letta, thanks for coming on the show.
Goodbye, Owen.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook, so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVAssistant. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/ HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're going to do is look for the a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.